Lotus Arising. We're here with Jimar, Blanco.
Hi.
Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Very excited to have you. Jimar is a healer. She's a Reiki healer. She's an energy woman. She is full with lots of love and positivity, and she helps a lot of people. So today's topic will be perception. We're talking about perception here. Opening it when it's closed. The senses, the triggers, the traumas, emotions, experience, memories. So how do we perceive?
So, first of all, we didn't know what we were going to talk about. And something that I feel that we should always talk about is our emotions. And that's something that we don't like to talk about.
Yeah, and we like to hide them.
And we like, yes.
But really it makes relationships so much worse because there's so many things within us that we hold, and that's why we explode, and that's where the negativity comes from, and the fighting and the arguments, because if people would just tell each other how they feel in that moment in a calm way, then maybe those explosive episodes wouldn't happen.
Well, those explosive episodes need to happen. That's what the emotions
but
are.
Not holding it inside for too long.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So emotions are those explosive episodes happening within us, telling us, hi, welcome. You're feeling this. You're receiving this. This emotion is doing this. So we are taught that to express our emotions is a sign of weakness. Mm-hmm. Because expressing,
and especially men, for some reason, it's taught like don't cry, men
and women, because as women we're taught also to be strong. Mm-hmm. That that we have to carry the family and be strong and not show weakness. Back many years ago, you would always hear about my mom was so stoic. She always held it all together, and I'm like, how did that woman hold it all together and was all stoic? She was in the bathroom hiding, crying. Yeah. She was washing dishes, letting all those emotions come out. And notice how I used water. Notice how I used the shower crying, mm-hmm. and then how I used washing dishes crying, because those are moments of meditation. Those are moments of release.
And you don't realize that, but I also find myself doing a lot of dishes when I'm in a moment of
cleaning,
chaos within, anxiety within myself, and sadness. I do dishes, and I'm not really sure why, but there's the cleansing that you feel, even the sound of the water.
Everything. It's the whole effect. It's everything. But the way that we perceive our emotions is so important, and that's why I said, you know what? Let's talk about perception. Because if we say we're going to talk about our emotions, a lot of you would not be watching. Yeah. A lot of you would have already shut it off and go. But now I'm also telling you that we're going to talk about our emotions.
So, yeah, definitely. But we're also going to be.
But we're going to do it in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Different from what?
And a lot of times people like to talk about, let's feel our emotions. What are your emotions telling you? Well, today I want to talk about how we perceive our emotions.
Yes. The perception of the emotion.
The perception of the emotion.
So what triggers, what do you believe triggers emotion?
Our senses. Our senses. Through our senses is how we perceive life. Through our senses is how we see everything, connect to everything. So how you hear, you smell, see, taste, touch. Your tea is so delicious, and it tastes so delicious, and it smells so delicious. And so many things are associated to it.
And
so
trauma from our childhood.
That's where I'm going with the tea. I can easily give you an example. So, for instance, this tea is peachy, mm-hmm. right? It has peach.
It does have peach.
Okay,
mm-hmm.
So it's very peachy. So immediately when I think of peaches, I think of my big old ass. Okay.
I wish I could say the same.
So, but you see how I perceive things? You see how I'm connecting? I connect things. So right now there's all this talk about peach and all this peach. And so every time I hear peach and I taste peaches and I smell peaches.
Booties everywhere.
Right? Because, all I think about is this big old booty I got, And then I think about all the issues that I have that are attached to that. So is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? Because you laughed and you immediately were like, yes, you got a big old booty, girl, celebrate it. Because you don't have a big old booty.
That's why I said celebrate.
Exactly. So the way you perceived it was completely different than the way
I think your butt is beautiful.
Right. Yeah. But then I immediately, yes, peach, delicious, bright, cheery, my big old butt.
We see it in two
completely different experiences, because this is something that I've carried for so long, that's been so big, so present in my life. That's that I've had people attracted to negative and positively. And then I have cellulite, and then it's big, and then it's changing and it's moving, and then all my life. Thank you. But you see, but it's part of my self-image issues. It's part of my body image issues. So as a Latina, girl, we got body image issues.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right?
And in different ways, from different cultures and different places.
Yes. So the top and the right. So the way that we perceive ourselves has everything to do with our environment, with our surroundings, with our experience.
So true. I love that you said environment, because depending on what area we are in the world, wherever we're at, I've experienced this when I've traveled and when I've lived in other places. People don't always accept our body the way that we do in certain places. Like, for example, Chiefland and Gainesville, up north Florida, North Carolina, Tennessee, places like that. They're very conservative, and they're very into, covering yourself up and not showing anything. And like you said, we're Latinas, we have Hispanic bodies. Sometimes things just kind of pop out, and we have
we're voluptuous,
no control over it. So,
but then we go into environment, into senses. Then we're going to what we perceive. So I'm going to give you a perfect example of why people there would not be attracted or understand how we move, how our bodies are made, and how our bodies move, period. Why? Because in Chiefland, you're going to have Caucasian people. Caucasian women are built differently. Yeah. They have bigger breasts. They have narrow hips. Their booties are not, it's a different makeup. Yeah. So these men are attracted to their mothers. So Caucasian men are usually attracted to thinner women with less hips and bigger breasts.
Completely
different structure. Why? Because they're perceiving it from their experience from watching their mother. That makes sense. That's the memory they have. That's what their senses are triggered to, remembering of being exposed, and poof,
so you think
there have your picture.
Has a lot to do with the judgments that we have in our own reality.
Oh, for sure, because it's through your senses. So how you experience things is how you lock in memory. And how you lock in memory is how you teach yourself to react.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So, for instance, going back to what we were saying about the body and the attraction to the body. So, believe it or not, we are animals. Hi! Hi, animals out there. Because we tend to forget that, and a lot of people are very shocked when they come and I tell them, did you know that we're an animal? That we fall under the scientific classification of mammals too, like with cows.
And that's where that animalistic behavior comes in.
And that's where our animalistic behavior comes in. So in actuality, the woman during a certain time of her life is when she's most fertile. So her skin glows a certain way, it stretches a certain way, it's plump. Her hair has all the nutrients and vitamins that it needs to feed a child, to have babies. So men are attracted to that because they know, yes. So animalistically, you're attracted to something that's a little bit more voluptuous, thicker than thinner than what we think as women, that we as women would find sexy or pretty. Yeah. Because that's what our moms taught us. But in actuality, society taught our moms.
Don't have any fat on your stomach. Have a flat stomach and look perfect. And that's why either we
the thigh gap
gain weight. We're never perfect to society.
We're never perfect to ourselves because we're constantly picking ourselves apart through what we've been perceiving, through our experiences, through our education.
I think has to happen at some point because we have to be able to shift and change our perception, which will then change our.
It's our environment. It's our environment because it's our experiences. So how are you experiencing your environment? How does your environment affect you? That's where you really have to go. That's where you really have to think. That's where you really have to change your cards and shift everything, you know? So if you're reacting with anxiety, because right now we live in a world where everybody has anxiety, everybody has panic attacks, life stress. People don't know how to manage their emotions. People don't know how to express their emotions, because our environment has taught us that how we actually manage in doing this, but buying more and creating more, which is not how it is. That's you've been sold into that. They've been selling you into that so somebody else can make more money. It's just a part of programming. So you have to unprogram that. But it's so difficult because we're 3 generations in from the baby boomers of people thinking that it's all material of how you satisfy your emotions. So, everything happens in 3 folds. So we have to undo 3 generations of programming.
So what do you recommend people start doing if they are interested in shifting their perception?
Being aware of what you're perceiving. How does it make you feel? How did that tea make you feel? So, for instance, right, so this is a perfect segue into her work because so it's peachy. So how did it make me feel? It immediately took me to, body image issues, right?
Which you saw as negative somewhat, but I saw as very
positive. Because you thought of I would love a big old ass.
Yeah, can I have her body?
Right.
I'll take it.
So, but it took me there, but then I've already have experience. I already have rewiring. So where am I now in my life? I got that peach. That's right. And it feels good. And I know how to carry it. And I own it. And it's okay. But I have to give myself permission. And I have to go through the conversation and tell myself it's okay. So instead of taking victim mentality, you take on survivor mentality. Yeah. Just a little switch like that. Telling yourself, oh, this makes me uncomfortable. I perceive this as uncomfortable, but if it's uncomfortable, it's because it needs to be healed. It needs to be dealt with.
Any judgment in your past as far as your body with like anyone? Have you experienced judgment or
all my life growing up? I was big booty Jimar, thunder thighs Jimar. My hair was big and thick and curly.
And what did you do? I don't know if you ever experienced any insecurity, but what did you do to feel fully in tune with your body?
What did I? Oh my gosh. Yourself? Natalia, I went up to like 200 and something pounds from how bullied I felt and how uncomfortable I felt in my body. I was very young. And I actually had, that's when I had my awakening. And I decided that I didn't need to look good for others, that I needed to look good from exactly what I told you earlier, right?
Yes.
Right?
It's for you.
It's for me. I don't smell good for others. I smell good for me. I look good for me. My nails look good for me. It just so happens that there's other people around me that can also enjoy it.
Yeah, of course.
But it's for me because it makes me feel good. And I don't need anyone to tell me that it looks good or whatever, or I smell good to validate that it smells good. Because if it didn't smell good, I wouldn't have it on. Right?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have put it on. If it didn't look good on my nails, I wouldn't have put it on. Yes. So we're always taught that we need validation, that we need constant reassurance, that we're doing an okay job, that it's all right to give ourselves permission. Well, I stopped giving others so much power at a very young age. Yeah. And I gave myself that power by telling myself that I didn't need anyone else's permission, that I needed my own permission to allow myself to do these things.
And you were able to have a conversation with yourself and kind of shift your own.
Oh, yeah. I became a vegetarian. I lost like 60 pounds. My whole life completely altered and shifted. I opened up my spirituality to a totally different degree. Mind you, I was 16, 17 years old when this happened. I was very young.
And you are also.
But I battled weight all my life. All my life. Every time I had a kid, you go up.
Oh yeah, that's difficult.
And then you have to come back down, and then your hormone changes, and you go up, and then a lot of it is genetic. I am naturally a thick woman. Once I accepted that I was a thick woman, I never tried to lose weight again. What I've done is try to feel healthy and comfortable within my skin, to how I perceive myself. So I see myself in the mirror and I still battle. And I still tell myself, oh, you're not good enough, you're not this, but it's me.
Yeah.
It's not for others. And then I have to talk myself through it. And then I have to remind myself that I'm beautiful just as I am.
I think it could also be our ego kind of coming in and trying to take.
Oh, ego wants to destroy and it wants to build.
That you're not good enough, that you don't look like this, that you could be that.
But it's programming.
Yeah.
It's programming. It's programming. By we watch on what we watch on TV. What you watch on TV. It's going back to our senses. What we perceive. What are we perceiving? What are we seeing on these things? You're seeing skinny girls with thigh gaps, with this beautiful hair. You know, I'm nowhere near that at my age. I would be lying to myself to think that I like I see J-Lo, for instance, me and J-Lo right there. I'm Puerto Rican. I see it's Shakira. We're women in the same age group, okay, same exact backgrounds, but they've dedicated themselves as athletes to their bodies. Yeah. Do you understand what I mean? I've dedicated myself to my spirituality and my family. That's where I put that was my most important tool to develop. So everyone has what their most important tool to develop is. My responsibility is to take care of my body, because it's my responsibility to take care of my health and my longevity, and not give that responsibility to my children. Do you understand what I mean? Because when you don't take care of your body and you're not eating right and you don't feel healthy emotionally or physically,
you're also not going to feel healthy in any way.
You're right. All you're doing is creating disease.
Your self-trauma and pain
that doesn't necessarily need to be there.
So how do these perceptions affect us in different ways? Like not just us, but everyone as a whole.
Well, how you feel and how you carry yourself is how others are going to perceive you. Because when they're going to smell you, going back to being animals.
In a natural light, not just, I have to pretend to put on.
No, that's what I'm saying. We're animals. So even without speaking a word, and you don't have to have all these gifts that I have to perceive people, because a lot of people go, oh, Jimar, but you can do it because it's so easy for you because you have this and you have that. And it's like,
no idea.
No. Everybody, we all have the ability to perceive everything. So you hear people, you smell people, you taste people. So how you're feeling and what you're perceiving through your experience and how you're processing it, you're expressing it and putting it out there into the world. And then I'm going to walk by you. So I'm a high empath. So I'll walk by you and I'll feel it, and then I'm taking it with me. So it's more about taking responsibility with how you perceive life. Taking responsibility for yourself, because once we take responsibility for ourselves, that's when we can make a difference in the world.
Stop putting the blame on others around us, that it has nothing to do with
the
traumas
with yourself.
Of your childhood. You could blame those, or you could grow from it. You could evolve from those.
You get to a certain age, once your Saturn returns, you no longer have the excuse available that it's your upbringing or your parents' fault. Your mind now is developed enough to want to take responsibility, to heal, to take the opportunity of time, because time, Saturn is the ruler of time. So time is so precious.
And when does Saturn return? I'm sure.
No, Saturn returns for everyone differently.
Okay, so it's not the same.
No, it's not the same, but it's during a certain age. So it's anywhere between 27 to 29 years old.
I'm feeling it right now. That's like right where I'm at. So I'm like, yeah.
That's when your Saturn returns. Like right now, Saturn has just entered into Aquarius. So if you have Saturn in Aquarius, your Saturn has returned. So you have to look at your chart and you have to see where you have Saturn. And then when Saturn is in that sign, that's when your Saturn has returned. But it's only we usually experience it once in our lifetime. If you're lucky, 2, and if you're super lucky, 3 times.
So what about Sagittarius and Capricorn?
What? Where did that come from? What does that have to do with anything?
Okay, we'll talk about that later. You're getting me too excited here. I gotta drink some more tea. So going back to the effect, how can we actually reprogram our mind, our perception, our reality? How could we let go of traumas that we've held on to for so long?
Oh gosh. Well, there's traumas you'll never be able to let go of. There's things that you'll never be able to fully release from your program. But you can change the way that you approach it. You can change the way that you receive it. And that you do by reprogramming it. So some programs you can remove completely, and some you just, they're always going to be there. Like for instance, a lot of people say to me, oh, so it's like Word, right? It's still Word, it's just a different version of Word. And I'm like, yeah, that's a great way to look at it. It's the foundation is still there, it's just a different version of it. So that's how you actually do it. It's creating a healthier version of yourself.
Changing patterns and cycles as well.
It's not about changing patterns and cycles that it's going to get you there, because that's the journey. Is that it's the awareness of being present.
Okay.
Because remember I was talking about time.
Not in the past.
Right.
In the
remember I was talking about time and how we have to, we have to see time as our friend, as something that we have to be like, okay, I don't have time to fuck around because life is so short.
Yeah.
I don't have time to wait for this. I don't have time for that. I don't have time. Time is money, however you want to see it. But you have to see yourself you have to see time, and you have to be like, okay, I'm present. I'm right here. I'm living this experience. So you have to take responsibility, and you have to tell yourself, am I going to allow my traumas to always be negative, so that I have perceived everything through a negative trauma association? Or do I finally take responsibility of my traumas and say, I no longer have to associate myself to this like this. I can now do it like this. So a lot of people are like, oh, but that takes a lot of time. I don't have time. We live in a world where we want fast, quick action. If you want a 6-pack or 12, whatever it is that you want, it takes time, takes dedication. And if you stop going to the gym for even a week,
you lose it.
So it's all about consistency. So you have to keep yourself accountable and present every single moment, every single time. You have to tell yourself, let me redirect that. How about this? You have to allow yourself to play the logical mind, be the logical creator within yourself, and not always allow your senses to take you wherever they want to go. You have to be more aware of it. Be aware is the awareness. Wow, this smells like peach. Like you were like, oh yeah, it is peach. My senses are so aware. Yeah. They're so hyper. Like my olfactory is amazing. My vision is not that great. I've always had stigmatism, but I have other senses that are bam.
And you can see other things beyond your eyes.
And I'm so grateful for them, but it's, I'm grateful that this is the less exposed sense that I have. But all the other ones are so heightened. You know what I mean? So some people will say, oh, but I don't hear too well. And I'm like, something else will be heightened. Yeah. Because you didn't need that. Because sometimes it's too much of something is not good for you. So anyway, it's all about being in the present. It's all about being right here. It's all about being in the now. It's all about taking responsibility and telling yourself, how is this making me feel? How am I reacting to it? Is this worth it? Nothing or no one shall disturb my peace. Is this taking my peace? Is this giving me peace? Is this giving me joy? Is this bringing harmony into my life? Is this taking too much time from me? Going back to time.
And that time that we don't have enough of. So to hold on to a grudge, or to hold on to hate or a fear, or what your coworker said about you, none of those things are going to give you a good perception of any kind of reality, because it's something that you're living in.
What's how they see you through their experience. And that's something that we forget, that people are seeing us through their experience, through what they're perceiving through their lens that's attached to their trauma, to their experience.
That's why they say put yourself in somebody else's shoes, which is
you can try always.
I mean, you can't always put yourself exactly in their shoes.
But you can try.
To have empathy and to have compassion for others, I think, is really important within our perception.
It is, but we must have it for ourselves first.
First, of course. It's just like loving yourself. If you do not have love for yourself, you're not going to have love for anyone.
When you realize that bitch is coming to you talking about something that has nothing to do with you, and she is telling you something that has nothing to do with you, know that it has nothing to do with you. Don't try to look for, oh my God, this is about me. What did I do?
It's exactly about that person. That has
nothing to do with you. But that's when you take responsibility for yourself and you practice compassion for yourself, and you tell yourself, I'm not going to allow this person to do that to me.
Yeah.
Because now you're allowing yourself to perceive what's going on. And and a lot of us, going back to victim survivor mentality, so a lot of us will fall into victim mentality and be like, oh my God, I did that. And and a lot of us are like, no, I'm not going to let her treat me like that. I'm not going to allow that because it has nothing to do with me. So it's really a lot about knowing who you are and what you are. And a lot of us do not know who we are because we don't slow down and allow ourselves to really truly understand how we connect with the world and how we are perceiving it.
And I think a lot of people are afraid of their true selves and don't really want to know exactly who they are, because we have been programmed and taught that if you don't go to school and become this and get your degree and do this afterwards, then you're not that, and you feel less worthy in certain circumstances.
Well, worth is measured so differently because for your generation it's about going to school and getting an education. For my generation, it was about being a wife and a mother and having children, and that's how you measured your worth. So it's very different, going back to perception, and how we perceive things. Yes, because during that time, that's how they perceived it and that's how they saw it. During your time, women were out in the workforce. They were no longer in at home. Yeah. So you had a different example. So you were able to see it differently and perceive it differently. Completely.
We're taught that we don't need a man and we don't need to have a house.
But because that's when divorce started to happen. Yeah. That's when women started to make money in the workforce. It was 1971 when women fully went into the workforce. Like, you really have to think about that. Think about the year your mom was born in.
A long time ago.
No, I know the year your mom was born in. It wasn't so long ago, and it's not too far from that. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And and then if your family and your ancestors come from somewhere else, and if they come from war, displaced, if they come from severe poverty, that has trauma that's being passed down, and you're carrying, and you don't even know. And you're responding to it, not even knowing that's been passed down to you to about 3 or 4 different generations.
How can one tap into like their inner psyche, their inner intuition, that thing inside us that's always right, that tells us the positive thing that we need to hear, but that a lot of times people just brush off and they don't even listen to that side of themselves?
That's being present. It's the same thing. It's all about being present.
So coming back into this moment, back into this.
A lot of people will tell you, oh, meditate, do yoga. There's so many different ways for you to listen to yourself.
Do you believe card readings help, or if people,
that's
totally different topic? Not even.
Not even. That's a totally different topic.
I would save that one for another episode.
That's not even, that has nothing to do with that.
What about riding your bike, going outside into nature?
That's meditation.
That can help.
That's meditation.
Shift your mind.
It's meditation. But people perceive meditation as sitting down and going like this.
And going, That's not all it is.
I don't know how to meditate, Jimar. It's been about 3 years that I've been trying. And I'm like, do you wash the dishes and zone out? Yes. Do you get in your car? And next thing you know, you arrive there and you don't even know how you got there. You just meditated. The whole entire way. Were you cooking and you don't know how the food is done? You were meditating. You're connecting through your senses. You're connecting through...
Even doing your makeup. Sometimes I'm doing my makeup and I'm just kind of blending and...
Music!
I don't realize that I'm done and I'm like, or maybe there's one...
Yeah, music, meditation, and makeup in a mirror. That's mirror therapy.
That's a woman's
that's mirror therapy. Well, for some of us...
I haven't heard that expression. Mirror therapy, is that like...
No, it's a thing. Yeah, okay. It's a thing. Mirror therapy. Oh, mirror therapy is wonderful. You should all look into it. Everyone should do mirror therapy. Every day. Every day of your life.
Do you recommend that to change, maybe help shift your perception?
Perception, because how you see yourself. For a lot of people, mirror therapy is one of the hardest therapies that I can give them.
Because some people don't want to look at themselves.
Some people don't want to take responsibility. Mm-hmm. Some people don't know how to take responsibility. Some people don't know what boundaries are. I have to teach people what the word boundaries means. Mm-hmm. I have to teach people sometimes how adults, like, it's amazing how people don't perceive other people's spaces.
Oh my God, I know. To me, I find I'm baffled by it, especially, you know, by certain types of people who maybe are interested in you, as far as, like, say they already know you're in a relationship, but then they are still trying to push that and get involved in another way, when you're like, I respect the fact that I'm in a relationship.
Because they're perceiving you as another way.
Yeah.
Because of what you're putting out there, you perceive it, and you have that issue a lot with what you put out there. A lot. You think that you're putting it out there from this, you're perceiving it that you're putting it out there to be this. Mm-hmm. And this person has an experience that's attracted to that due to something that they have as something completely different. Mm-hmm. So they're seeing you through their experience. They're not seeing you through your experience.
And I'm sure that happens to a lot of people.
It happens to you so much. So I want you to understand how much it's going to happen.
No, I know. It never ends.
It never ends.
As much as you try to make it end, and you do.
That's why it's so important for you to know what your perception is for yourself, and how you see things. So anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, anything that makes you feel tight, anything that makes you feel,
you don't have to be there.
Not so much about not about being there, because we're talking about perception. Mm-hmm. It's about, that's a trigger that's a little trigger that has a little light that's going off, and it's telling you, this is making you feel uncomfortable. This is something that you need to deal with. This is an issue. The more you ignore it and you put it away and you turn it off and you turn it off and you turn it off and you turn it off, because you get to the point where you turn it off completely.
Oh yeah.
You can shut it off. You can shut off a crying baby completely. You shut it off and you zone out. That's where illness comes in. That's where the big picture.
Where you're not accepting.
Where you're not accepting your emotions. So what happens is that those emotions, tick, 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 so much of you holding it in, you're putting it further in. So then we have our filters, our kidneys, our liver, all these different organs.
To release that is to change it.
So they hold it and they hold it and they hold all this emotion and they hold all this pain and they hold all this friction of what you're not accepting through your experiences, through your senses, through what you're perceiving. Okay? So then you hold, and then through time, it creates so much damage, and it creates a hole or ulcer, whatever it is, a dysfunction. The wiring goes bad, the code goes off, the white cells go into red, whatever it is. Now you've completely altered your makeup. Now we're somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Now a completely different experience is happening within yourself. That's how you create disease. You're no longer at ease. Dis-ease. When you're not at ease and you're perceiving things that are not making you comfortable.
And how do you shift
that's how you create disease.
To change the patterns in your life.
You have to stop. Pay attention. That made me uncomfortable. Don't let that soak into your body and create a disease. If it's making you uncomfortable, it's because you need to check it out. How did that trigger you? Did you see something that made you feel uncomfortable? Did you smell something that made you feel uncomfortable? Which one of your senses went off? Where is it? It's about being present. It's about being here. That will then in turn, from practicing and doing that so much, that changes the pattern.
Yeah.
That's how you change patterns. Yeah. You don't change patterns because you wake up one day and you say, I'm changing my pattern today.
Mm-hmm. That's not how people.
That's not how you do it. That's not how you do it. No, you just
stop drinking alcohol. Doesn't happen overnight.
Not at all.
So for people that are here watching right now, that are with us, who do want to change their perception, who are tired of things that trigger them in a negative way, and who don't want to be basically a victim to all their traumas from their childhood, what can we say to help them reprogram and be more present within this moment?
Exactly what I just said. It's just about taking responsibility.
Owning up to it.
And owning up to it and telling yourself, I'm here. to have my experience and to take responsibility
and not
for
trying
it.
to control how other people think.
It's just about taking responsibility.
Even if people judge you, stop thinking about their judgment. Let that judgment go. It doesn't matter what they think.
Once you stop judging yourself, you stop allowing others to judge you. Others are always going to judge you.
Of course, they'll never.
But in your head, you're not going to allow them to judge you.
Of course. I love it. It's beautiful. It's amazing. We've gone over a lot of different things.
Yes.
Perception. It's a great topic. Thank you guys so much for being here and being a part of Lotus Arising. We're always rising. We're always shifting our mind, shifting our frequency to calmness, to balance, to awakening, to clarity, to peace, and to now in this moment. That's what this whole episode was about.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Jimar Blanco, for being
here.
Thank
you.
I love you.
I
You're
love
a beautiful
you.
Medicine woman. Check her out. Know more about her. We're gonna have the links for her below, so everybody can follow her on YouTube and reach out to her if you are interested in a reading. She's a beautiful person.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I love you. Thank you.
Until next time.
Oh.
Cheers.
Oof.
Lotus Arising.
Thank you. The tea was wonderful. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next time, guys.
Bye.